Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Angel Dixon, and joining me is parent coach Bonnie Compton. We are so excited to get to spend a little bit of time with you today on this webinar called Setting Your Children Up for Success. If you have questions as we go, feel free to throw them in the comment section. And if you are watching this on the recorded version, feel free to comment below this video or reach out to Bonnie and I personally. Our information is linked in the video and also at the end. Bonnie, thank you so much for coming on with me tonight.
Thank you, Angela. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited too because this is our first time doing this class. We've been building up to this, and this is one of our most exciting classes because we are giving you guys take-home tips and tricks to use with your kiddos to help make your life easier. I know as a parent, anything to make life easier is super important, and especially if you have a kiddo who's struggling or challenged, life is even more difficult than other families, and anything to make that life easier is, we know, something that you want in your life. And it's important, the stuff that we're talking about tonight, because we're not just giving you tricks to make your life easier, we're also offering opportunities to change your child's life and make their life easier, their life better, change the trajectory that they're on. So buckle up, it's going to be awesome, and we are so excited to get started. Bonnie, let's start with you. Talk to us about the kiddos. We picked two cases we wanted to focus on tonight. Tell us about the first kiddo that we're going to talk about tonight.
Right. Well, first, Angela, I would like to just let parents know I'm a child and adolescent therapist and a parent coach, and I want parents, although you're in the school year now, right into it, I want you to stop and think about how you were feeling towards the end of the summer when school was getting ready to start. Were you excited for your kids? Were you so glad you were sending them back to school and you could get back to your own schedule, work, etc.? Did you find you were a little anxious about school starting? Were you beginning to wonder or dread, oh my gosh, here we go again? Are they going to struggle like they did last year? Am I going to get those dreaded phone calls and those notes from the teacher telling my child is acting up in school, or they're not doing their schoolwork or whatever? Or perhaps you had struggles when you were a kid in school. And often for parents that I work with, that stuff starts coming up, and they don't want their child to suffer like they did. Well, of course, nobody does, right? Those are all normal feelings. So now that you're in the trenches of the school year, how are you feeling? And how are your kids feeling? How are they doing? Have you begun to get those calls from the teachers, or you're beginning to think, you know what, the same stuff is still here that we dealt with last year? So Angela and I are really excited to be here tonight to help you help your child, to set them up for success. So I am going to be looking at my notes every once in a while so that I stay on track. But yes, as Dr. Angela said, we're going to talk about two kids. I work with the parents, and then I referred the kids to Angela. So the first one is this little girl. She's 7 years old. She's in second grade. Parents reported in the first meeting that I saw them that she did okay in first grade. And I said, well, what do you mean by okay? And well, she did her schoolwork, but she did struggle somewhat. And so she had a hard time beginning classwork. She would kind of sit there at her desk like deer in the headlight, not quite sure what to do. Sometimes would even cry. So this year, same thing's happening. She's now having difficulty sleeping at night, especially on Sunday night when she knows she's got to go back to school. She cries when her mom drops her off. She's pretty anxious, is not a risk taker. She's a picky eater, both at home and at school. And mom said, oh my gosh, some mornings just trying to get her to put socks on or shoes is a nightmare because the seams in the socks aren't right, or the shoes are too tight or too loose or whatever. So that's the first little one that I saw or heard from the parents. The second one is a 6-year-old little boy. He's in first grade. His parents report that he's very impulsive, both at home and school. He's kind of like a bull in the china shop, just goes right on through, doesn't stop to think before he does something. So he doesn't really learn from his mistakes because he's in the moment. So parents are like, he keeps getting in trouble doing this. I'm like, they're like, why isn't he learning? He knows not to do this. I said, because he is in the moment and he's just not thinking. He is, charging ahead. He's also kind of what I call a prickly kid. So it doesn't take much to set him off. If someone's in his personal space, he may lash out. If he has a clothing tag, thank goodness a lot of companies aren't doing clothing tags in kids. I've worked with kids for many, many years, seeing them in therapy, and that was always a major issue. So anyway, but just certain things really drive him crazy. His teacher describes him as a loud kid. And there's a lot of kids in the classroom, and he's quick-tempered. So perhaps you can relate to some of these kids. So I was seeing the parents and helping them learn to guide their child to respond to their child's behavior rather than react, which makes it that much worse. And then I referred these little kiddos to Angela, and she's going to talk about that, what she saw beneath their behavior.
Yes, ma'am. So I saw these kiddos, like Bonnie said, after she got to see the parents, I got to see the kiddo, and I'm going to show you guys some neurological scans that we run in our office, and this gives that deeper level of understanding where you see the behaviors in your kiddo and you wonder why. Why do they constantly have these behaviors? Why aren't they learning? Why aren't they changing? So this scan relates to the first little kiddo that we heard about, the second-year-old girl, second grade girl, and this scan is called surface electromyography. I'm going to focus on the number at the bottom. If you follow my cursor, there's a number down here that says pattern, and it says 59.4%. Now, this is out of 100, so she got 59.4 out of 100 was her score. And when we see this type of pattern in kiddos, it really makes sense with a lot of the symptoms that her parents are complaining of that she has. So the pattern is the organization of signals getting from your body to your brain. So this would be like, I'm going to give you 59.4% of important information that you need to make an important financial decision for your family, and you have to make the decision based on that 59%. I'm not going to make the right decision because you didn't have all of the information. So this is what's happening with these kiddos. The information is getting jumbled up, lost, disorganized on the way from their brain to body to brain. So when the brain gets it, it says, I don't really understand what's happening, but I'm going to respond the best way that I can. And it sends a signal back down, but it's probably not appropriate for the situation. So it just doesn't fully understand what's happening. The brain's getting a little confused about the environment. So this is where we see kiddos clumsy, they're eaters, they don't like the socks, they get really anxious. And it's not necessarily that they're a bad kid or anything like that. They're having a hard time understanding the world that they're in. So it looks a little scary because everything just doesn't quite make sense to them. Now, the second kiddo, I have the same scan on a different kiddo. This is for our little boy. The important number I want to talk about now is total energy. Sorry, I'm trying to get my mouse in there. So down here, total energy, their score was a 339.5. This again is out of 100. So they scored 339 out of 100. Now, what's important with this number is it tells us the total number of signals, the volume of signals going from the body to the brain. So now instead of talking about the organization, we're talking about sheer volume of signals. So you can imagine you're sitting at your desk, you're peacefully working, someone comes in, puts a boombox on, blasts Metallica, cranks it up to 10 and leaves it there. How productive are you going to be at your desk? Probably not that productive because you have somebody screaming at you the whole time. That's what it feels like to be inside these kiddos' brains. So when we get a kiddo who can't sit still, they can't focus, they seem like they're always on the edge of melting down, they're really close to tipping over that tipping point all the time, it's because it's really, really loud in their brain, and it only takes one more loud noise or someone getting in their space or one sensation to just push them over the edge because it's so loud in their poor little skull. And that just makes it really hard to focus. It makes it hard to learn. It just makes it hard to concentrate and just be a good kiddo when you're just so overwhelmed with just the volume all of the time. So I'm going to get back to Bonnie and I. Screen share. Perfect. So this is the way that we get to look at the kiddos. Like Bunny said, she gets to talk to the parents, and we get to peek inside their little bodies and see why these things are happening to these kiddos. And we get to watch that go away on the scans too, which is really awesome. So we're going to get to that too. Bunny, let's talk about, anything else you want to add to those cases?
No, I love seeing when we do this together and I get to see the scans, because what you're doing, I'm explaining it from an emotional, behavioral perspective. You're explaining it from a physiological perspective, what is actually going on. And often, as I tell parents, your kids are not their behavior. That's not their true essence. That's not what they want to be doing. And sometimes kids just have a hard time. They don't have the coping skills and they are totally overwhelmed, just as Angela was explaining. So I love that you can see it from both sides and then have a better understanding. So it's perfect.
Absolutely. So let's start talking about getting ready for school. So we're going to talk about a couple different areas. We're going to start talking actually about the night before school. Ways to help get your home and your kiddo set up for a successful morning before school. So we know, I'm sure Bonnie, you have more experience with this than I do, that the morning before school can be pretty stressful, and that can set up a bad school day for kids.
Right. So first I wanted to talk about some of the stressors. I'm speaking about kids, but I'm also speaking about parents, okay? So, and it begins the night before. You know, kids that you say they come home from school and they've got to get their homework done. We'll talk about that in a minute. But they feel rushed. They feel rushed all day, especially if they're overwhelmed at school. They have held it together all day. And I tell parents, because some kids are like model students at school, appear to be perfect children. And then when they come home, they explode because they've held it together. And I always tell parents, it's good news, bad news. You are the safest place, mom and dad at home. You are the safest people. Home is the safest place. And unfortunately, that's where we show a side at, we can kind of let loose. But they've been holding it together all day. So how can you help them to really start the day off well? Well, it begins the night before. So if your kids are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, worried about not being prepared, really be proactive. So that means have them do their homework when they first get home from school. Please, please, please don't wait. And we'll talk about this again in the homework section. Please don't wait until, I know that they've been in school all day, they're tired, they want to go out and play, but trying to reel them back in is a nightmare often, especially if they're really struggling with school. Have them do their homework early, help them, get them in a routine of packing their backpack up, of having it by the door, pick out clothing the night before. Angela, you have some other tips?
Yeah, so going along with Bonnie, kind of getting that setup done the night before. So packing lunches the night before, if your kid takes a lunch, and allowing them to help with that. So when they get a little bit older, they can take on some of that responsibility, and it gives them a little bit of control that they can, obviously probably need to guide them if they're younger, what they put in that lunchbox, but giving them some control of, they get to pick the veggie that they put in their lunchbox. They get to prepare it. Maybe if they can handle a knife, they can cut up their carrots, whatever it is, gives them a little bit of control and a little bit of responsibility that they're actually helping get this accomplished. Maybe they can help pick out what you guys are going to have for breakfast in the morning, or getting things ready for breakfast in the morning. All those things that you can do beforehand. And one of the most important things I talk to parents about, especially with kids that have bigger challenges, is routine. So we do our homework, we eat dinner, maybe they help with the dishes, and then, hey, it's time to pack your book bag and put it at the door, lay out your clothes, help with the lunch, whatever your routine is for those kiddos, so they know what to expect, and they get in that groove with you of, okay, these are all the things that we do, and they can be more helpful of getting some of that stuff done, and they know what to expect in the evenings. It helps them get prepared for that next day.
Right, and also parents, you really have the ability to set the tone for the day. So I've worked with many parents and I've suggested that they get up earlier than their kids. And often they say, I'm exhausted. And I said, I know. So that means you have to go to bed earlier also. But the parents who have taken on this challenge that I've given them and have gotten up earlier and they're showered, they're ready, and they also have some quiet time to themselves. So they meditate, they read. Uh-oh. I'm glad they didn't hit your head. Are you okay? That they have this quiet time, they have quiet reading or whatever, they have their tea, they have their coffee, they report back to me, oh my gosh, I feel so much calmer in the morning, and then my kids get up. But you're really setting the tone for the day. You've probably noticed the more stressed you are as a parent, the more your kids' behavior starts ramping up, because they are energetic sponges. They pick up on your energy, right? So really being proactive in this, it is so worth getting up earlier and having a calm morning before you hit the ground running, instead of just jumping out of bed and going. So,
and identify what your kiddos like in the morning, right? So some kiddos need peace and calm in the morning. Some kiddos want music playing when they wake up. They want to wake up dancing. So identify what your kiddo likes and what kind of puts them in that right mood when they get up, so that when they get up, they join you in that either excitement or calm or whatever it is that they like, so that can help them set their mood after you set your mood. Exactly.
And the other thing is really to limit digital devices. Mm-hmm. So you and I could have a whole other webinar on that, and put that on the brain. But I know kids want it. I've worked with so many parents who are saying, I don't know how to say no. And I help parents with that a lot, because the kids are asking and testing you to be the parent you need to be. So, but parents also have taken on this challenge and have really limited technology, the digital device, especially during the school week. We're seeing an amazing transformation in their kids' behavior. So anyway, maybe another time we can talk about that. Let's talk about the classroom. So we've talked about home. Some of the stressors in the classroom, kids feeling overwhelmed, overstimulated.
And like we saw in the scan, some kids are literally physiologically overwhelmed and overstimulated when they're in that classroom. So it plays ways for kiddos.
And sometimes, especially kids who are the well-behaved kids, as I put it, will sit there and they don't understand. So a teacher may say, take out this book and begin. And especially if they have an auditory processing problem, they're not taking in the information correctly, they don't know what to do, and they'll just sit there or do the wrong work.
Yeah, and these kids get in trouble. This is like the first scan of the kiddo that we looked at. They get in trouble for not understanding, but they really just aren't, like Bonnie said, they really don't understand what's going on, or they don't understand what's expected of them. And it's not that they're not bright. They're normally very bright kids. They just don't know how to connect the dots to understand this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or this is how I'm supposed to be doing it. All of those things can be really challenging for them.
Yeah, and then they end up fearing or feeling that they are stupid, that they just, or all these other kids in class get it. They have no idea that some other kids are struggling also, but then they're afraid to ask for help because fear of looking stupid, right?
Yeah, and kids don't understand that we process our stress differently. They see how we process stress as parents, maybe as their siblings or their closest friends, and one kid, like we talked about earlier, they just start crying because they're just so frustrated. They're so anxious. They don't understand. And other kids maybe don't respond like that. And they don't understand why they're different than other kids. They don't have that foresight of, this is how I handle my stress. Other kids don't do it that way. And that's where sometimes we get bullying and get kids picked on and things that really are going to not help the situation, that classroom situation that we're already struggling with.
Right. The other thing is, what are your expectations of your child, and what are the teacher's expectations? And can your child meet that? Developmentally, are they able? Just because you have an older child and they were able to do it at that age, or your child's friends can do it now, doesn't mean your child is able to. So often we have expectations as parents, which just adds to our kids' stress. Oh.
Especially when they can't meet those expectations. expectations. I feel like they feel like they're failing you, and then a lot of times as parents, we take on our children. We feel responsible for their success or their failures, even though we shouldn't. We could take that on, and then we feel let down too. Instead of setting and helping your kiddos understand those realistic expectations that Bonnie's talking about.
Right. And so many kids are pushed in school now, and often parents feel if the child is not doing well, it's a reflection of their own parenting, and it's not. One of the things, as far as tips go, is the importance of communicating with your child's teacher. And I've had so many parents in the past say, I don't want to say anything to them. I don't want my child to be labeled. And I often say, you don't want your child to be given any kind of label, of course, but you don't want them to be labeled with something that they're not, like a defiant child, when they are just really struggling. And so really being, again, proactive with the teacher, giving them information, not waiting until you receive that dreaded note, but saying, hey, look, and not giving them too much information, but these are things my child struggled with last year. And how can I help you help my child? Because you really are part of the team. It's easy to feel like the teacher should be doing everything. They can't. They have their hands full with a big class, right? So really help them understand your child better.
And this is an opportunity when you're talking with the teacher to find ways to help your child. So if you have a child with an IEP or a little bit more challenged, does your kiddo need extra time on a homework assignment? Do they need noise canceling headphones for when they have quiet time when they're supposed to be doing their homework? Finding those things that work for your kiddo and making sure that the teacher knows that your child needs that, and just being open with them about, I really want my kiddo to succeed. This is how we have found through their therapies that they can be successful. And understanding, like Bonnie said, there's 14, 16, 20 other kids in the classroom. I understand that at home, you can help your kiddo with transitions by warning them ahead of time, hey, we're going to transition to something, but the teacher can't do that at school. And so having a little bit of grace for the teacher that we have a lot of kids in the classroom, there's only so much that they can do to help kiddos.
Right, and teachers are amazing. I give them so much credit. And they also have limited time, and sometimes they don't receive training. Some of them do, some of them don't. So they may not have an understanding of some of the stuff that's going on.
And it's so easy to confuse a sensory issue and a behavioral issue. This is a really big thing for me of getting education about this out, because sometimes they can have a sensory issue that's causing them an anxiety, and the teacher labels it as defiance. Bonnie, I know you've seen this before in cases.
Yes, absolutely. I have observed some kids in class who have been labeled as defiant kids. And really, when I went to see what was going on after working with parents, I thought these kids are not defiant. They are, I will think of one in particular, extremely anxious and overstimulated and overwhelmed. And so they didn't know what to do, and so they'd pull away from the teacher, run, laugh, but the laughter was a nervous laughter. They just were almost like this caged animal, and they were stuck and didn't know what to do. So once I helped the parents understand what was going on and the teacher, things automatically began to improve. So, yeah,
this is
important.
Yeah, this is a great thing. Working with Bonnie is getting that better understanding of what the behavior really is. So many parents tell me, I hear XYZ behavior that my kid does at school. They're not like that at home. And having that understanding of it's a very different environment in that classroom than at home, and helping, like Bonnie said, when she goes and observes, she can help better understand what the behavior is and why that's happening, help giving everyone a little bit more understanding of they're not laughing in your face because they're trying to be defiant. They're so nervous. And shifting that lens, that can change the kid's whole school experience.
Right, absolutely. And sometimes it's a wrong school environment. It just, it just depends. So Let's talk about homework, kids' favorite thing. And actually, I was so happy to hear after seeing kids in therapy for many years. I'm so happy to hear that some schools are doing away with homework or it's optional. I understand why homework is given, but yeah, it's kind of like being at work all day long and you have to come home and do more of it, you know? So anyway, obviously the stressors for homework, not only are the kids stressed, the parents are stressed, especially, you know, some kids come home, have no problems with it, and they just do it right away. Those aren't the kids we're talking about. But they've been in school all day long, they're tired, they've held it together, they don't want to do it. They don't feel confident in their ability to do it, so they will often fight you like crazy, right? And because all it does is brings up their inadequacies once again. They don't want to feel that. They get frustrated easily. And as a parent, and I know with my kids, I'm have 4 adult kids, and I remember some of this homework struggles. And the more I tried to help, the more they resisted. So I've talked to many parents who dread homework.
And this is an opportunity for when you have that better understanding of your kiddo, whether they're a disorganized kiddo, they're an overwhelmed kiddo, identifying the things that set them off while they're doing homework to help eliminate those. So maybe they need it absolutely quiet while they're doing their homework. Maybe they need a little bit of background music. Maybe it's the siblings that set them off. Maybe it's where they're at in the dining room table. There's just so much commotion going on. Maybe they need a desk in a quiet corner. Identify the things that set your kiddo off while they're doing their homework and try to eliminate those things to help just put less stress on them while they're trying to work through and get through that homework. Because all of those things are just going to make it more difficult. It's going to fill up their stress bucket. It's just going to make them go into those core behaviors, those reaction behaviors that they go to when they're feeling overwhelmed or overstressed.
Right, and I actually remember, my thought as a mom was always, you do homework in a quiet environment. And one of our daughters who has ADHD could not do that. She needed music with a heavy beat. And as long as she had that on, she could do her music. And, do her homework. And the homework, it was correct what she did. So I finally gave up saying, turn off the music. It actually helped her. So some tips that I give parents about homework are really chunk it down. A child who is overwhelmed and opens their backpack and sees all this stuff, they often will just freak out. So, say, okay, what do you want to do first? How about for 15 minutes you work on that? And be nearby, but don't be hovering over them. Get them to do, or they can take some quick breaks, small breaks or whatever. You can have a dance party with them, one song or whatever, and then sit back down and get them started again. One of the things that kids love to do is teach their parent. It empowers them. So get them to teach you the subject that they're working on, and engage with them that way. And then often they're more willing to do their homework. Praise them for their efforts, not for their product. If they're trying, acknowledge that, because it's hard for these kids. And one of the things that I tell parents all the time is, please don't do your child's homework for them. I get it. There are times it's like, let's just get this done. If they're struggling, it's important that the teacher know that. Otherwise, you're sending your child back to school. The teacher assumes they got it and they move on. So they really need to know that.
And this is an opportunity as a parent to, your kiddo. If they're an auditory learner, a tactile learner, maybe they're a visual learner, and incorporate that into how they do their homework. So if they're an auditory learner, have them read it out loud to you. If they're a visual learner, maybe they draw it out for you. If they're a tactile learner, find the ways that they learn and incorporate that into their homework. They're not only going to learn it better, they're going to enjoy doing it more while they're doing it, because they don't feel like it's a chore. They feel like, oh, hey, I'm actually getting to use my strengths. This is something fun. And again, look for their strengths. So are they a visionary and they like to see the big picture? Or are they an achiever and they like to check things off a list? So if they're an achiever, you literally want to have a list of all the things that they're supposed to do, because it makes them feel rewarded when they get across something off that list. Are they an analytical? Then they want to see all the little bits and pieces that went into whatever it is that they're learning about. So identify, maybe it's competition. Maybe they want you to set a clock for them to beat, or they're going to beat their homework, or their parents, siblings. Whatever it is, find their strength and use that to make their homework more enjoyable as well. Just another way you can make it less of a chore and more of, hey, I feel fulfilled when I got a list. That's my strength.
That's a great tip. Also, remind them how resilient they are and how they have overcome struggles before. And how are they able to do that? Even riding a bike for the first time, how it was so hard and they had to keep working at it. Once they got it, they felt so proud of themselves. So.
I love that. So as you can see, Bonnie and I, we work together a lot. Bonnie does an amazing job of working with the parents. You're never going to have a perfect kid. Spoiler alert, there's no perfect child. So the tools that Bonnie gives you, it's a lifetime. I'm sure she still uses them with her adult kids and her grandkids. All these tools that she has.
And
grandkids.
That's right.
There's always going to be a struggle. There's always going to be ups and downs with your kiddos. So the tools that Bonnie teaches you, they're timeless. You're always going to be able to use them. And then we come in and we get to work with the kiddos, which is what we love. We get to help them learn how to process and understand their world better. And it makes such a difference, especially for kiddos that are overwhelmed or struggling. I mean, I can think of one little kiddo in particular. Last year at this time, it was like hold their breath every day to see if they had an incident at school that day. There was one thing that they were doing that the school hated. And this year, that's not even on the radar because they did the work with Bonnie and they were able to find that better way to work with their kiddo. And then the kiddo did the work with us and they don't get overwhelmed. They don't stress out. They don't go into fight or flight all the time. So the combo is it's been amazing for changing so many kids' lives. We've had the opportunity to change so many lives of kiddos, and we are just so thankful for every kid that we've got to change, because I know for us, Bonnie, and I know it's the same for you, we know that their life trajectory is different because we're able to come in and touch that life.
Yes, and I love when we work together, the synergy between our work, and I, of course, get to see the parents, and I've had so many parents say to me, you gave us hope when we didn't have hope anymore. And then the kids, the joy that returns to the family, and the smiles on the kids' faces because they feel empowered and, they begin to really be successful. So I love that we work together. Yeah.
And that's so important you need to believe that change is possible, and you need to know that it's possible. So many times when parents get stuck in this rut with their kid where it's the same report home every day, the same struggle every day, the same homework fight every day, the same struggle every morning, you need to know that change is possible for your kiddo and for you and for your family. You need to know that that's possible, and you need to take action towards it. Whatever it is for your family, you need to take that next step.
And I was going to say early intervention is key. So the sooner you do it, the sooner your kids are going to get.
Yeah. Like I just said about that family
in school.
You're so thankful that they took action last year.
Right.
They have a different kid this year.
There's actually a quote that I love. I think Karen Lamb is the author of this quote. A year from now, you'll wish you had started today.
Yeah.
But that's true in so many ways and areas of life, right? Not waiting. So.
Absolutely. I'm going to share my screen one more time because I want to show you guys how to get connected with Bonnie. Oh, hang on. We're going to go back to the beginning. So, guys, if you want to get connected with Bonnie, she speaks at a lot of local schools. I know she was actually doing that earlier today. That's a really great way to connect with her. And if you want her to speak at your kiddo's school, reach out to her, your school district that you want her. She's an amazing speaker. She is part of a group, and so am I, called Supporting West Ashley. This is a collective of high-quality professionals here in the West Ashley area who take care of families. And we have an event coming up 2 Thursdays from now, the 4th Thursday of the month, called the Roundtable Meet the Members. So this is an opportunity to actually come meet us face to face, ask questions, and get anything answered that you need to, and just see who is a great fit for you and your family. There's going to be information about that. It's on Supporting West Ashley, and you can see we'll be sharing it on both of our individual pages.
And if I can just say real quick, parents can find out information about me on my website, bonniecompton.com. I have a private practice at the Life Guidance Center in West Ashley. I see parents in my office or over the phone or via Zoom, and would love to work with you. I have done this for many years, and I've gotten it to 4 sessions. That is the requirement to work with me. I'm very selective who I work with now. But parents are finding after 4 sessions that there's an amazing transformation, not only in their child's behavior, but with their relationship with them. Also on my website, real quick, you'll see my book, Mothering with Courage, and my daily OM course, Messages We Send Our Children, which is an online, very reasonably priced through the Daily OM platform. So I would love to talk to you. I do a 20-minute discovery call, parent discovery call, complimentary, if you want to find out more about my work. And I thank you for joining us.
And Bonnie's book is awesome. I read it actually when I was pregnant with my first kiddo. Definitely need to reread it now that I have him. It's a really great read, and it's a super great gift for moms, because it gives you just that push to trust yourself again. As a mom, we have so much information coming in from the outside, and we don't really listen to it anymore. So it was a really great push to remember, listen to that mom gut, as I call it. You know what's best for your kid.
You have the answers within. You really do. So thank you.
Bonnie, I'm so sorry I don't have your website on here.
No worries. It's bonniecompton.com. Now they know.
I had it on there at one point.
That's right.
So if you want to meet me, I will also be at the Meet Members for Supporting West Ashley. I also have an ADHD and sensory workshop coming up on October 19th at the Oasis Spa. So this is the class where I go deep dive into those scans that I talked about and why our kiddos end up with the challenges they do, and charting a course for a changed kiddo. Our office offers the stations called Baby Comfort Stations. It is a private tent that we bring to family-friendly public events. So it's a private tent. It's got a changing table in there, diapers, wipes, nursing chairs, nursing covers, a boppy, everything you need to take care of your kiddo while you're out in public, so you can enjoy the festival and not worry about changing your kiddo in a porta potty or whatever happens to be there. So you can see 2 events that we're going to be at still later this month, and we've got several more next month. So if you ever know of a family-friendly event that you want that service at, just reach out to us and we will get there. And there, sorry, I need no website for you, but there's my website, newhope.com. So if you want to get connected with me, we do a complimentary 15-minute phone call with the doc. If you just need specific questions answered, or you need to know where the best fit is for you, we're very, very honest and we're very open. We're here to help families. That's what we're so passionate about. And as a pediatric and prenatal focused chiropractor, we work with adjusting to help kiddos get, like we talked about early in those scans, help them get better organized, help them turn that volume down, just really changing their life through helping them heal on the inside. Your kid is the most intelligent healer in the world for them, and we just help them tap into that potential and then do all the healing, and it's really amazing to watch happen. Bonnie, anything else do you want to put in here?
No, I just am very grateful. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Angela. I always love working with you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Anybody, if you have questions, you can reach out to either of us to get connected, and we just look forward to watching the change happen for you and your family.
Take care,
everybody.
Bye.